You know that feeling when you come home after a long day expecting peace, only to find your entire world turned upside down? That's exactly what happened to me 3 months ago. And what I discovered will shock you. My name is Robert Thompson, and I'm about to tell you how a power-hungry HOA president tried to steal my beloved beach house in 24 hours. But they made one huge mistake. They forgot to check who actually owned the property. Picture this. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening in October. I'm walking up the familiar, weathered boardwalk to my beach house, that special place that holds 23 years of precious memories with my late wife, Margaret. The salt air, the sound of waves, ... It's where I go to feel close to her again. But something was wrong. There, pinned to my front door like a scarlet letter, was an official envelope. And friends, when I read what was inside, my heart nearly stopped. Notice of surrender 24 hours to vacate 24 hours. Can you imagine? This wasn't some rental property. This was my home. The place where Margaret and I celebrated our anniversaries. Where we watched countless sunsets. Where I promised her I'd keep our memories alive forever. The letter came from something called the Seabreeze Shores HOA. They claimed, and I quote, that my beach house was under their jurisdiction, and that I needed to transfer ownership immediately. I stood there, hands shaking, not from fear, but from pure disbelief. This house had been in my name for over a decade. I'd done my homework when I bought it, even hired a real estate attorney to make sure everything was crystal clear. But here's what really got to me. They were demanding I abandon the place where my wife's spirit lived on, where her favorite seashells still sit on the windowsill, where her garden still blooms every spring. Not happening. Not ever. Asterisk. The next morning, and get this, before their bogus 24-hour deadline had even passed, I heard aggressive knocking on my door. When I opened it, I came face to face with exactly what you'd expect from an overreaching HOA president. Her name was ... Well, let's call her Carol to protect privacy. Mid-50s designer sunglasses pushed up on her head like a crown, clutching a clipboard like it gave her superpowers. Behind her stood 2 other board members, looking like they were ready for battle. Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice dripping with fake authority. I see you got our notice. We need you to start packing today. The association has big plans for this property. I took a deep breath. With all due respect, your association has no authority over my property. I have the deed, the surveys, the legal documentation. Actually rolled her eyes at me. Clearly you don't understand how HOAs work. This property falls under Seabreeze Shores now. We voted on it. Voted on it? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You can't just vote to take someone's private property. That's not how America works. But here's the kicker. She looked me straight in the eye and said, the community always wins. You've got 12 hours left. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. Then she turned around and marched off with her little army, leaving me standing there absolutely stunned. Asterisk. Now, I may be in my 60s, but I didn't get to where I am by backing down from bullies. The next morning, I drove straight to the county recorder's office. If you've never spent a day digging through property records, let me tell you, it's like being a detective in your own life. And just as I suspected, my property had never been part of any HOA. Never. Not once. The Seabreeze Shores HOA wasn't even formed until 15 years of fur. I bought my land, but then I found something that made my blood run cold. Someone had recently filed an amended boundary map, one that magically expanded the HOA's territory, to include my beach house, fresh filing dated just 2 weeks earlier. Here's the problem. It was completely fraudulent. No signatures from actual property owners. No county approval. No legal authority whatsoever. Just someone with a lot of nerve. Trying to redraw reality with a pen? I think you can guess who was behind it. Asterisk. That evening, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, the same sunset Margaret and I had watched together for so many years, I heard the rumble of engines. 3 black SUVs pulled up to my house. Out came Carol and half the HOA board. Armed with moving boxes and trash bags, they were actually planning to start removing my belongings. My belongings. From my house, I walked out onto that porch, the porch where Margaret used to read her morning paper, where we'd sip coffee and plan our retirement dreams. And I said, in the clearest voice I could muster, take one more step onto my property and you'll be trespassing. I have every deed, every survey, and every law backing me up. This house is mine. Carol planted her hands on her hips like some kind of suburban dictator. Not for long. We represent the community. You're outnumbered. You know what? I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of the sheer audacity. This isn't about numbers, I told her. This is about the law. And unless you want to explain to the sheriff why you're attempting to steal someone's home, I suggest you back away. The tension in that salty evening air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Carol waved dismissively and said, you'll regret this. HOA always wins. They left, but not before giving me looks that could have frozen the ocean. Asterisk. I knew this was far from over. These people had shown they were willing to forge documents and make threats. I needed help. The next morning I called my attorney, David Bradley, a man I'd known for years who had a well-earned reputation for standing up to HOA abuse. After reviewing everything, especially those fraudulent boundary changes, he looked at me with the kind of smile that meant business. Robert, he said, they've made a colossal mistake. This isn't just harassment, it's fraud. It's a criminal offense. Let me handle this. Within days, we filed complaints with the county, sent Sisandaz's letters, and scheduled an emergency hearing. Word travels fast in a small coastal town, and by the end of the week, everyone knew what Carol had tried to pull. The HOA wasn't just in hot water, they were drowning. Asterisk. The day of the hearing, that courtroom was packed. Neighbors, other property owners, even some local reporters. Carol sat at the defendant's table, trying to look confident. But I could see the worry in her eyes. My attorney methodically presented every piece of evidence, the original deeds, the property surveys, the timeline of my ownership, and then the fraudulent filing. Your Honor, Bradley said, his voice steady and strong, this wasn't a mistake or miscommunication. This was a calculated attempt to steal private property. A client has been threatened, harassed, and given false ultimatums. We're asking for complete dismissal of any HOA claims and appropriate damages. Carol tried to interrupt, claiming it was just a clerical error. The judge, and I'll never forget this, cut her off mid-sentence. A clerical error doesn't require forged signatures, ma'am. That gavel came down with authority. Case dismissed. The property remains solely in the ownership of Mr. Thompson. Furthermore, referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal investigation. The aftermath was swift. Within 3 weeks, half the HOA board had resigned in embarrassment. Carol faced serious fraud charges. The whole corrupt system crumbled like a house of cards. As for me, I'm sitting here on my porch as I tell you this story, watching the same waves that have comforted me for over 2 decades. The evening breeze carries the scent of Margaret's rose garden. And I can almost hear her voice saying what she told me the day we first unlocked this door. This is ours. Sweetheart, no one can ever take it from us. And you know what? She was absolutely right. Because when that HOA tried to steal my sanctuary with fake papers and empty threats, they forgot one crucial thing. I wasn't just a homeowner who would roll over and give up. I was the owner. The legal, rightful, documented owner. And I wasn't about to let anyone not an overreaching HOA, not a power-hungry president, not anyone take away the place where my heart lives, asterisk. Friends, if you're facing something similar, remember this. Bullies count on you being too intimidated to fight back. They count on you not knowing your rights. But when you stand up for what's yours, when you know the law is on your side, truth has a way of winning. Your home isn't just for walls and a roof. It's your sanctuary, your memories, your peace of mind. And it's worth fighting for. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might need to hear it. Have you ever dealt with HOA overreach? Share your story in the comments below. You might just help someone else who's going through the same thing. And remember, know your rights. Stand your ground and never let anyone take away what's rightfully yours. Until next time, this is Robert Thompson, reminding you that sometimes the little guy really can win. Sing.